اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Firstly, everyone that told me anything in the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, could you please repeat it to me after my speech, because I didn't put it down, so I may forget if someone's asked me to do something for them in 10 minutes before I spoke, because I didn't have time to jot it down. Secondly, I do apologize because of the delay of the dua, but inshallah we will maintain with the time. I won't speak for only 14 minutes, I'll still talk for the half an hour that we have, so you can bear with us for that. The next point with the jurisprudence of the laws, of the fasting and what it is that we have to abstain from while we fast, is immersing your head in the water. Now, when we look at this point, the majority of the ulama hold the point that if your head is immersed beneath the water as an obligatory precaution, your fast is broken. Although recently, in the general opinion, with Sayyid Sistani, and generally why I only outline his masail, because the majority of people follow Sayyid Sistani. So that's why he gets that emphasis, not because there's anyone better than anybody. But Sayyid Sistani in this sense says it's makruh shadid. He doesn't say that it breaks the fast. He says, but it's something that should be avoided and not to do. I remember that people, when they used to fast, used to go to because when we were fasting in summer, people used to go to the pools or the beach, and you see them, they'll be swimming up to their necks. They wouldn't allow the water to get any higher. And this could be problematic. Why? If it's a day where there's strong waves, and there is that possibility that you may fall on a wave, then your fast will be affected. But if you have not certainty, but closest, if you're pretty sure that you're not going to go under, then it's acceptable. And some people will say, all right, how do I do my ighsal? How do I do ghusl? Obviously, you can't be in the state of hayd, or the state, for the brothers, you don't have this issue, or the state of janaba while you are fasting, that you would have to have performed the ghusl before then. But we're saying, say I want to do ghusl al-Jum'ah, which tomorrow people do ghusl al-Jum'ah after the Fajr all the way until the Ghurub. How would I do that? Yes, I can still have a shower. Even still, people that don't have shower heads, I think everyone does, but the people that don't, they still use the buckets to pour over them. I can still do that. The issue is with me immersing my head in the water. And not immersing some of my head. It has to be a complete immersion, which means that pretty much if I put my head under the water up to my eyebrows, for example, I haven't broken my fast. So it has nothing to do with any of your orifices. It hasn't got to do with your water going into your ears or your nostrils or into your mouth. The whole idea is your head from your neck upwards cannot be completely immersed under the water. And this is what the ruling is about. Sometimes people, when it comes to these issues, they ask why. It makes no sense. Not everything is meant to make sense as we see. You need to always remember this. When it comes to laws, God, Allah Azza wa Jal, will make a law, like the issue of the Kaaba is always a very good example. Allah Azza wa Jal says, we have made this Kaaba as the Qibla, لِنَعْلَمْ مَنْ يَتَّبِعَ الرَّسُولِ وَمَنْ يَنْقَلِبَ عَلَىٰ عَقِبَيْهِ. So that we know who follows the messenger and who turns on their heels. When our ruling's made, do you obey or don't you obey? That's the bottom line when it comes to this. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight we look at one of the usual suspects when it comes to where people are reminded of those that were before them. The people of Nuh, the people that came, or the people of Ad, and finally the people of Thamud. The people of Thamud is a very interesting story, because once again they were in a very affluent community. They were rich people. They weren't, when you say like rich as in I can afford a 3 Series BMW rich, no, we're saying very rich. These people were extremely wealthy. They had a lot of money and everything that you can imagine. You know, generally when we see someone with a nice house, if I see someone's got a big house, what do we say? Oh, you should see Tom's place. It's a palace. Or you should see, you know, Harry's palace. We specifically call it a palace or a mansion, and all it is a 5-bedroom home. This is the way we have, and we exaggerate. Whereas in the case of Thamud, Allah Azza wa Jal does not use hyperbole. Allah Azza wa Jal does not exaggerate. When He mentions them, وَاذْكُرُوا إِذْ جَعَلَكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ مِنْ بَعْدِ عَادٍ وَبَوَّأَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That Allah Azza wa Jal made them basically the successors of, when we say the successors, they ruled, they were supreme on the land. After Ad, and we settled you in the land. And Allah Azza wa Jal says to them, تَتَّخِذُونَ مِن سُهُولِهَا قُصُورًا. So, the plains of the land, okay, the shores of the land, the coasts of the land, you took upon them, or you built upon them, palaces. And God is not using hyperbole. These people had those, you know those houses that when you drive past them, like, you know, when I'm driving sometimes, when you're driving in the south of Lebanon, and you get past these houses, honestly, you can count 10 seconds as you're passing the house. Think about it. When I say 10 seconds, you're driving, you're not walking. And you say 1, 2, all the way to 10, and the house is still there. You know what I'm talking about. They're palaces. They're not normal homes. So these people had palaces, as Allah Azza wa Jal mentions. And then He says, وَتَنْحِتُونَ الْجِبَالَ بُيُوتًا. So in the mountains, they had carved homes in the mountains, inside the mountains. So imagine these were like their, you know how some people have a holiday house? This was like their winter homes, where they would spend the summer on the coast and then the winter up in the mountains for them to live in a different environment altogether. So these people were living it up. Some people can't even afford to purchase a single home. These people had multiple abodes. And they lived in what was a worldly paradise. And they had longevity in life. Their houses, their lives, when we say longevity, they lived for a long time, to the point where they would build these homes, in the narrations it says, and no one would inherit. Like during their times, their lives, they would actually demolish these houses and rebuild them. That's how long they would live for. So these people had wealth, they had been given a worldly paradise, and they had long lives. During this time, Allah Azza wa Jal amongst them put Salih. Salih ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi afdal as-salatu was-salam. At the time when he was around them, the narrations say he was 16 years old. I think 16 years old is a teenager, a youth. Living amongst them, worshipping God. Doing what's right, calling them to their Creator. See, you need to understand that idolatry, or the worshipping of idols, began when? worshipping of idols began just before the time of Nuh. And this is why you'll find that Nuh alayhi salam and Hud alayhi salam, afterwards their challenges were against these idolaters, people that worship these idols. So these people had all these idols that they'd sit and worship, things that they had carved out with their own hands, and Nabi Salih alayhi salam would call them towards God. And you would always get the regular objections. Sahirun, Kadhab, they call him a magician, Majnoon, a madman, a liar. The usual rebuttal, the usual answers that they would receive. Nothing constructive, just slander and abuse. And this is the problem when it comes, and we need to understand, when it comes to calling to God, people don't resort to refuting what you bring forward. No one does. Because if you have what is the truth, and you have what is solid, I don't have a counter argument. So what do? I resort to other methods. As when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, when he came and recited the Quran, وَقَالُوا لَا تَسْمَعُوا لِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ, the first thing they said, don't listen to this Quran. وَالْغَوْا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَغْلِبُونَ. So, in other words, don't listen to the Quran. Don't listen to what is being recited. Instead, what should you do? While the Quran's being recited, make noise, make a ruckus. Irritate the recitation so that you may overcome him. And the way they would do it, it was really annoying. If he would say a word, they would repeat that word and make it into a song and clap and dance and just make it in a way where people would find this funny, because if you're in a group and they're mocking someone, this is what they would do with the prophets. Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, when you read his story, you weep. That everyone would turn around and call him the senile old man. This is the old man that told the kids, see this deranged old man? Watch out, he has some wacky ideas. He's spaced out. Keep away from him. And this is the first thing they would resort to. It's called character assassination. In order to destroy your argument. And if I can't beat your argument, you remember when you were at school, and those still at school, you get into an argument with someone, you could be in the right, and they could be the wrong. When you've won the argument, when the person turns around and says, something like your mum. You've won the argument, that he has to turn and attack what? He has to hit as low as he can because he has no reply to what you're saying. So he has to slander you. They have to attack your actual character because there's no way of responding to what you were saying. Or you'll hear sometimes someone says something is very constructive and something is very strong, and people turn around and say, where did he study? I remember once I was mentioning something, and I'll give you this argument. I'm going to actually mention the name, because just to give the weight of this person and his knowledge. The name of this alim is Al-Jaafari Al-Ameli, and he's the author of Sahih As-Sirat Nabawi, the real biography of Rasulullah. Very well known. And when he wrote such books, he was given awards, and he's known for his scholarly abilities. Until he wrote a book where he actually attacked, and the mystics had an issue with this, where he attacked Ibn Arabi. He called the book Ibn Arabi Sunni al-Muta'assib. Do you know one person to refute him? He told me, where has he studied? This was his answer. He said, where has he studied? Hada walad. He is a child. Would you believe this? This is the reply he gave to someone with scholarly exploits, someone that's written books and is known for his ability in writing, and people have seen and understood what he has written. In order to bring him down, he called him a child. He said, where has he studied? Why? Because he was happy when this person was writing and singing the tune that he liked. The second he said something, rather than say, I don't agree with his opinion here, he attacked this person, which would they call a character assassination. Or sometimes they misconstrue what is being said. They change the meaning of what a person says. Now they don't even need to do that. Now they just edit a video and put it on YouTube. If they want to put a YouTube video of someone, you know, the person could be saying in a speech, I never said that I am a thief. And then they'd cut out, I never said, and you'd see me standing there saying, I am a thief. I am a thief. And they put, he said it himself, and they'll keep repeating it. And they'll put it all over the place. But they'll cut out the first part. So this is what they're doing now. Also, they give you an advisory against the person to keep you from learning. You know, other than that, there's disinformation. So then people refuse to learn or to understand. So what happens is they leave faith at a young age and they never study again. And they turn away from religion. When on the contrary, when it comes to learning, especially you look at Aqidah. You know Aqidah is your fundamentals. There is no taqleed in Aqidah. You're not allowed to say, look, I believe my opinion in religion is based on what this, or if someone says I became a Muslim because I like so-and-so. This is not religion. You have to become a Muslim or you have to follow your faith because the arguments are sound. The arguments make sense. This is the reason you have to follow. You have to, when someone gives you an opinion, I don't sit there and say, I'm going to ignore this person. No, I grab what they say, I compare it to what? To what Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran. Because you have to develop a ground, a basis. You believe in the Quran, compare what someone says to the Quran. You have logical ways of deducing things, understanding things. Logically, if you came up to someone and said, you worship this idol, yes, and they'll turn around, they say, no, I don't worship this idol, I worship who this idol represents. No, but you're prostrating to the idol, you represent, and this idol you've carved from your own hands. And no one has given you authority to worship this idol. And when you look at the gods that they worship, who created these gods? Where did these gods initially come from? And this is a way where they keep people away from religion. A lot of the brothers that have moved from one sect to another, the ones that have come towards from Sunni to Shia, a lot of them that I spoke to, when they first, and I'm talking about Christians that became Sunni and then became Shia, they'll tell me when I first walked into a Sunni mosque and they found out that I had come to Islam, he said the first thing they'd warn me, beware of the Rafida. Sorry, beware of the Rafida. He said, but if we walked into a Shia mosque, no one would ever come and say, beware of the Wahhabis. Why would you warn someone against the Wahhabis? Why would you warn someone against someone that's illogical? Why would you warn someone against something that's apparent? You know, could you imagine just like saying someone, beware of a great white shark in the water? There's no point. They can see the teeth there, it's apparent. But for you to sit there and warn them at this point, the second they've walked in, that's the first thing you're worried about, it shows that there's an issue here. There's a problem here. And these people have these ideas. When they tell you don't listen to the atheists, when they tell you don't listen to religion, because they tell you religion causes all the deaths in the world. Religion, all the wars are caused by religion. And this has been, this idea has been debunked by Robert Pape, who was a political scientist, I think in Chicago, Illinois, where he said that 95%, I think, of terrorist attacks, and I don't use that term, that's their term, of attacks that they call terrorist attacks, were caused, or the roots of them were political and not religious. 95%. 95% are caused for, because when they ask, they get someone, why did you put this bomb in this place? They said, well, we're sick of American foreign policy. What's that got to do with Islam? Or they tell them, or one of the most famous ones I always have mentioned on this mambar is that girl, that woman that did a suicide bombing in occupied Palestine, and when they asked her in the video why, she said, I'm not doing this for God, I'm not doing this for Islam, I'm doing this for Palestine. Straight out, this is the reason I'm here for Palestine. And I said, although that's a waste of time, but it's genuine, because you're not doing it for God. Every amal li ghayr Allah, it's worth nothing. But the thing is, she's genuine. That's the reason I'm doing it. The purpose of me doing this attack is for Palestine. So rather than people run away from religion, people say that deaths are caused by Islam, deaths are caused by religion. The biggest wars that have passed on this earth were caused by fascists and communists, people that are averse to religion. World War II, over 75 million people killed, was a war by what? A fascist. Because Nazism was branched from fascism. Someone that was against religion, someone that was averse to religion caused this war. And all these dictators that have ruled in these lands, they're all fascists. Whether you look at Pol Pot, Idi Amin, all these people, they weren't people that were doing it for the sake of God. Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin, they were all communists. They weren't people that were doing it for the sake of God. Now the prophets, in order to bring the people over, maintained three things. Three things that they would bring forward that would bring people to them. The first one is the clincher. Why? Because the prophets, when they would do something, they would say, we ask of you what? No reward. Our reward is from Allah. That's what made people follow them. So you'd come in and you say, all right, this religion, how do I sign up? They say, listen, there's a $1,000 membership fee, you're not accepted till you pay it. Even when they tell you, you have wajib upon you, your zakat, your hummus, the Prophet never comes and puts a sword to your throat and says, you pay in the laws that come in. No, this is an obligation. This is what, all they came is to do what? To remind you of what God has made obligatory upon you. But never would they turn around and say, I need money, I need this, I need a new car, new house. They wouldn't turn and ask for things like that. And people are happy with that. When you don't mention money, people are always happy. As long as it's for free, everyone rides along. Take a look at majlis in general. Make a majlis and say there's no food. And then make a majlis and say there is food. You'll see people, they turn up with their pots ready to pick up the food. Honestly, because people that collect food before it's even eaten. When it comes to food, when it comes to handouts, everyone turns up. So when a prophet turns up and says, I'm giving you for free. Why? Because God is the one that gives me. The second thing the prophet has, he needs to prove he's linked to the heavens. He has signs. I need to prove my links to the heavens. I have signs. I have miracles. For you to say, I am Rasulullah. You have attributed yourself to God. A Rasul of Allah is someone that carries Allah's message. You need to have a sign. Some people that have the idea. I remember I was listening to someone in a speech, and he said that Nabi Isa alayhi salam performed miracles that no prophet performed before him and no prophet performed after him. And I said, I thought to myself, what you talking about, Willis? What's going on here? What's this guy talking about at this point? I said, the Quran itself says something, a miracle that's humongous. Just right at the start when you read اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, that Allah Azza wa Jal, through His authority, allowed His messenger to split the moon into two. This was a miracle, a huge miracle, not a small miracle. A huge miracle that these prophets were able to show the signs. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam showed the signs of every prophet. If you go through the narrations, you will find this even through Ahl al-Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim. And people used to question them. One man came up to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam and said, is it true that you perform miracles like the prophets do? And the Imam didn't turn around and say, watch my magic show. He didn't turn into David Blaine and David Copperfield right from the start. No. The Imam said to him, is it difficult? Oh, sorry, he says, can Allah, I'm not fasting anymore so I can paraphrase. No, but the narration says, he said, can Allah Azza wa Jal allow a mosquito, a ba'udah, to do a miracle? A mosquito, something so insignificant to us. Can Allah let a mosquito do a miracle? And the man said, of course, inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. He said, am I not better than a mosquito? Look at the way he answers him. Something so simple. So when you say that the Imam, you are negating God's ability, because if he is God's representative, then he has what? The link to the heavens. If he does not, then you're negating God's ability. Or is Allah Azza wa Jal selective? I'll give this miracle to that person and not to that person. Every prophet had to prove that he had that link to the heavens and thus had to provide them with a sign, because he was claiming to have that link. Finally, the third thing a prophet had was sublime moral character. It was different to everyone. And you know, honestly, just think about this. How long does it take you and I? Start with me, I forget about you. Honestly, drive on the road. How long does it take you to twitch? Someone cuts you off. How long does it take you to blow your lid when someone talks to you? How long? Think of yourself, as myself as a character, how long? 1 minute? Imagine someone's irritating you for 1 minute. 1 hour? 1 day? 1 week? 1 year? I don't think anyone would have lasted for longer than... look, I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'll say it with me, 1 minute. I don't know about the rest of you. It may be even less. But with you, I don't know how long it would last you before you blow up. These prophets, like Nabi Saleh, do you know how long he preached to his people? He was 16. He did da'wah until he was 120. That's 104 years of being called a majnoon, being called a sahir, being called a kadhab. 104 years. These people had character like you cannot even imagine what it was like. Their morality was so great. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, who was above all with moral character, he would have preached to the people up to now and not reacted and not caused the wrath of God to come down on the people. Allah Azza wa Jal was the one that testifies to this. Allah testifies to this when He says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that you adhere to sublime morality. Your morality is above all. And this is the thing the prophets had. They had that moral character for the message. They had that moral character to be able to deliver the message. And this is why people followed them. So they had these three things to get the people on the side. Now, the issue with these people and having, when we look at, for example, the atheists, and then we look at the polytheists, we need to understand that in the case of the atheists, they have a reason as to why they don't accept, and the polytheists also have a reason as to why they don't accept. It's a different reason, it's not the same. If you take a look at the polytheists, the fact you have multiple gods, it's a good system. Why? Everybody gets paid. Because every temple has a priest. If you notice the Hindus, every Hindu family, like for example, you'll see a Hindu family, they say, well, we'll have a good relationship with Ganesh. This is the God we worship. And then they deal with the people that deal with Ganesh. They're getting paid. So everyone that belongs to some god, and there's multiple gods that they follow, every priest gets paid. The problem with Saleh here is Saleh was greedy in their opinion. He wants everyone to follow one God. And if they all follow this one God and they leave their 70 gods that they worship, the narration says, he's the only one going to get paid. That's the way they perceive it. They're looking at it that this guy is a really good con man. He's going to take the lot and we're going to miss out. Even when they believed in him, which they eventually did believe that he was a prophet, we'll get to, inshallah, not tomorrow night, but we'll get to the night after. Tomorrow night, we commemorate the death of Sayyida Khadija alayhi salam. So we'll have a special occasion, will be an interlude. And then the following night we continue this discussion. But we'll take a look there as to why the people refused to accept the faith, being an atheist and their like. And we'll continue the story of Prophet Salih alayhi salam. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us upon the upright path, or place us upon the upright path, and make us of the righteous. We ask Allah not to take us from this world until He is pleased with our actions. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.